You are not your thoughts. Hi, Sparkles. This is episode 134 of the Intuitive Wisdom Podcast. I'm currently reading Eckhart Tolle's book, New Earth, and loving it. Right now, I'm learning more about the egoic mind and that difference we have between thinking thoughts and being conscious of our thoughts and what we are thinking. In this episode, I'm sharing some of my own personal story and what it means to have a spiritual awakening and know your egoic thoughts are not you. You are a soul having a human experience. Here we go. Hi, and welcome to Intuitive Wisdom. I am your host, Kay Margaret Solorio. I am an author, spiritual teacher, and certified Angel Reiki Master. I believe that all the answers you seek are inside you. When you learn to discern between the ego and the intuition, tune into spirit, you can hear that whisper, your intuitive wisdom, answering your questions and showing you the next right step. On this podcast, we explore that connection and the good that happens in the world when you learn to hear your intuition, trust your intuitive wisdom, and allow your magic. Quick announcements before we get to the episode. My book is now available on Kindle. The title is Make Ease Your Vibe. It's a self-help book with mindset, energy, and time strategies to make ease your daily vibe. Paperback version releases on February 2nd, 2025. All right, I will include the link in the show notes below. Also, I run monthly meditation and angel classes. Please check out the website for details. That's deliciousease.com/services. And lastly, I'm finishing up details on a new course called Meet Your Spirit Guide. It's a 3-part audio series plus workbook where you will learn to open that door and start the communication between you and your own spirit guide or guardian angel. All right, let's get to the episode. I love questions or food for thought. So my question for you today, Sparkles, have you had a spiritual awakening? Are you aware that you are not your thoughts? So for a long time, I think the most interesting story that I could tell was my move out west. I grew up and down the East Coast. I now live in California on the West Coast. And that move happened, 13, 14 years ago. And I knew I needed a change. On paper, everything looked great, but I was not happy. I'd kind of done what I'd gone to where I was living to do, and I knew that I wasn't going to find what I wanted there. So it was time for a change. And I thought, well, when's the best time I've had in my life? It was working up until that point. It was working at my aunt and uncle's winery in Germany. So I thought, great, I'll get back into the wine industry. And where's the best wine in our country? Out in California. See ya. So, of course, it's nice to wrap it all up in a bow and a few short sentences, but that was quite the process, the decision-making, months of planning and doing it. Lots of resistance came up. I had been looking for a different job, and I got like 5 awesome job offers after I had decided to go. So I really had to, it was like the universe saying, really, are you serious about this? I was, and I applied to probably hundreds of jobs out in California before I left so that I'd have some security. And nobody wanted to hire anybody from the East Coast as they didn't expect that I would actually make the move. So there was lots of stuff that came up that was interesting. But long story short, I quit my job, I sold my stuff, and I drove from the East Coast to the West Coast. And I figured it out along the way. And when I got here, and the first year was incredibly difficult, and I didn't think I would make it. And after that, it just got better and better and better. And now I've established my life and myself out here, and it continues to get better. But what I was trying to do was to change my outside circumstances to affect my inner happiness, right? I expected that if I changed the location, if I changed the circumstances, for me at that time, the social pressures were a lot, and I was just trying to fit, and I was not fitting into all those expectations. So I thought, well, I'll go grab a new paradigm out on a different coast. And life is very different here, I'll give it that. But I took me with me wherever I went, right? Or whatever I did. So for me, it wasn't actually until COVID hit 5 years ago. Can you believe it's been 5 years? That balancing act of me growing, me building my life, me still living under old paradigms, and operating in a non-sustainable way crashed, and I crashed, and then I started looking for what I could change. I really liked my life, and it wasn't the outside circumstances that I wanted to change. It was the happiness that I wanted to change. And so that made me start to look in and look at my thoughts and look at all these things information I was feeding myself, and how that affected me and my spirit. So there are 3 ways to have a spiritual awakening. I just think the awakening is the best word. So you kind of wake up and realize that you are not your ego, right? You are not your thoughts. You are not your subconscious. You are also conscious. You have that choice. You have that ability to observe your own thoughts. You have ability to listen or not listen. You have the choice, right? So generally, 3 ways it happens. 1, you are awake. We are all awake as young children, and some of us are able to hold on to that for a lifetime. I think most of us go through conditioning where that's kind of shunned away. My daughter and I read Mary Poppins a few years ago. If you haven't read the books by P.L. Travers, definitely recommended. And in one of the books, she talks about how the magic, like the little ones, can understand everything, like can understand the birds and can understand the magic of Mary Poppins and everything. And there's a conversation of how at age 1 that all dissolves and you forget. So this forgetting, and then right now we're talking about remembering, reawakening. So either you keep it from when you were a kid, something terrible and traumatic happens, which we would wish upon no one, but some of us have absolutely experienced. I don't know that I could classify my COVID experience as that, because I have the ability to be quite stubborn and hold on to my ego. And so I resisted that change. It actually came through the 3rd way, which is just slowly, right, through practice. So I started meditating, first for a minute a day, then 2, then 5, and worked my way up to 15 or 20. Sometimes I did longer, but that's not really necessary. The point was a consistent practice allowed me to have that quiet time to tune in, right? And that allowed me to hear my own thoughts, to hear my intuition, to observe my storm of thoughts coming from my ego and all of the shame and the pressure that came with it. I could then, the logistics that I tried to figure out to make my day happen, I could be an observer of my thoughts in that quiet space and begin to discern, begin to see the difference. And then, as you all know, last year I was certified as an angel Reiki master, and that was even the next level of cultivating more that feeling, literally energetically, what it feels like to have egoic thoughts of the and the weight, the heaviness of how those thoughts feel, to the light and airiness of how intuitive thoughts feel. And that's one reason this is the Intuitive Wisdom podcast, to talk about that difference, to recognize it, to cultivate that relationship with your own intuitive wisdom. So opening that door to possibility, whether it happens from the get-go through a traumatic experience or slowly through meditation and learning and accepting and being open to it, right? You get to find that difference between the ego and the intuition. You unlearn, relearn, and you know you're on the right path looking for the next step. So I think the spirit, the gift, not only realizing that you are not your thoughts, you are you are your spirit. That has tremendous power and relief and beauty in it, but also to know that I feel like that shame and that pressure that is often tied to having a goal or looking for a specific outcome or judging yourself by a specific success, that begins to wash away. You are here to be you, to experience being you, to grow as you, and you is your spirit. So if you're in alignment with that, if you know you're on the right path, and you're just looking for the next step and you're feeling into it, you're checking in with yourself, with your intuition, with your intuitive wisdom, then that's what it's about. All right, Sparkles, that's what I have for you today. You have access to a free guided meditation through my website. It's based on one I used early in my spiritual awakening to help me expand my imagination as to what was possible for me. You can download your copy at deliciousease.com. And until then, please know that everything is happening for you. The universe is conspiring in your favor. See you next week. Hey, Sparkles. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Intuitive Wisdom Podcast. If you haven't already, click subscribe and follow. And if you love this episode, please leave a review and share it on Instagram and tag me at Delicious Ease. That's DELICIOUSEASE, so that I can say thank you. Every review helps another person find this podcast and learn to welcome their own intuitive wisdom. You can download your free 20-minute guided ideal day meditation on my website, deliciousease.com. Again, that's DELICIOUSEASE.com. And have you bought my book yet? Now available on Amazon. Be sure to find my book, Make Ease Your Vibe, for mindset, energy, and time strategies that help you raise your vibration and enjoy the life you live. See you next week.